Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Excuse me if I seem a bit disordered today, distorted. The irony there. Um, just just been having one of those days, so just excuse me, just a little all over the place today. But I'm going to be hopefully very on point with this video because I need to focus on something. Um, so I was just kind of just sitting around, just because, like I said, just having one of those days, and just farting around on my phone, just looking at stuff, and I was noticing a discussion revolving around the Oscars and just kind of the some uh, conversations in regards to some of the nominees from this year. We briefly talked about the Oscars on the news roundup, and talking about a lot of the non-nominations that took place with just kind of naming films but not supplying it with any nominees, so hence not really a nomination. But people were pointing to one film specifically that actually ended up garnishing the most nominations for this year's ceremony. That film being Emilia, Perez, which was a Netflix film which centralizes on the transgender community. The lead is that of a transgender, which I believe they themselves also was nominated for this year's ceremony. And the reason why a lot of people there's some discussions about the film being had, prior and also more so now with the nominations coming out, is a lot to do with the legitimacies of said nomination and the rationale behind the nomination itself. Because if you look at reception for Emilia Perez, Perez, I'm probably butchering the hell out of that last name. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. Paris. I'm gonna say Paris. That probably doesn't sound right, but my bad. But the reception for Emilia I want to say Perez. I'm gonna say Perez. Emilia Perez. Perez. I want to say Perez. That sounds better. Emilia Perez. We'll go with that. Emilia Perez. The reception for it has been lukewarm at best, poor at worst. So if we go look at Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't really care for Rotten Tomatoes, I've never have really cared. Way when I was younger, I cared when I was a lot more naive, but now I just generally don't care. But just to point out, notable site, Rotten Tomatoes critical rating so far 71%. Audience rating, as I checked, 21%. We go over to Metacritic. They have a critical rating of roughly around, I think Rotten Tomatoes had it at 74, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, I just didn't write that in, sorry. Rotten Tomatoes had a 74 critic rating. Metacritic actually had a 71 critic rating and a user rating of 6.9. And then if you go over to Letterboxd, which is where I usually go to get a general consensus, they have a general consensus of 2.3, and that's out of 5. So generally speaking, people are not receiving the film. They're not enjoying the film that much. So it's interesting because it has the most nominations for this year's Oscars. And why is that? And I think we can all, at least most of us who are level-headed, and I feel like even some of the major outlets are even kind of recognizing this as well, with this specific film, and it has a lot to do with diversity. It has a lot to do with diversifying their nominees, and this has been an ongoing goal within the Academy for a couple of years. And I wanted to detail a lot of the origins to where this mentality stemmed from, and also disputing a lot of the claims that came from many years ago revolving the Oscars. So this should be brief because it really revolves around one movement, but because of this, it it instilled in the Oscars is this idea that they need to, be more inclusive and diversify and bring in more members and this and that. This is where it all comes from. So obviously what we're going to be talking about, if you know your history, is the hashtag Oscars So White movement, which started up in 2015 with the 2015 Academy Awards when they announced their nominees, and the online community took notice at a lack of minority groups in the leading acting categories. So, that was what they were looking at specifically. So they excluded all the other significant nominations or wins that perhaps did include respective, minority groups and all that sort of stuff. Also, not to mention, the Academy's president at the time, Cheryl Bone Isaacs, she was a black lady and also the first black lady to hold that office. She held that office from 2013 to 2017. So, just saying. But at that time, also, celebrities got involved in the mix. Jada Pinkett Smith, most notably, vocalizing support for that movement, mostly because her husband wasn't nominated that year. I believe it was for, I forget the film that he did. I think it was Focus. Some film. I know it was like a football thing, some sports film or something like that. I forget, but that she was upset because her man did not get nominated, and well, her man would eventually get an award, and then some. But let's dispute this claim, this idea that, because this is again them. This is a specific claim, right? Saying that, oh, look at the lack of minority groups in the leading acting categories. And then and within that, there's this whole, Oscars so white, like this whole generalization that the Oscars is not wanting to recognize minority groups, or they are so, this and that, maybe racist, maybe not. It's like, let's dispute that right now. Because if you go do your research, very basic research on the winners of the 2015 Academy Awards, here are some of those winners. So let's point out the biggest winner, probably one of the biggest winners of that night. That was Alejandro Giannaroto. Alejandro Giannaroto is a Mexican, and he won Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay. So, and following from that, he shared the Best Original Screenplay win with Armando Bo, who is an Argentini, I think that's how you pronounce it, from Argentina. Then you have, for Best Original Song, you have two black men who won that award, John Legend and Common. And to also talk for other foreign areas, you have Alexandre Desplat, who is French, won Best Original Score. So it's this notion that minority groups were not, included or even won is completely just ridiculous. But they want to be specific, right? They want to be specific, talking about the leading acting categories. And I don't want to hear because, well, those awards mean more. It's like, what matters more in this whole diversity discussion? Is it a matter of the award itself or actually just getting recognized? In this case, a lot of you guys are recognized, but you don't want to bring that up for some reason. But yeah, there was recognition then, but nobody took notice of it because I don't know. Now, you roll into 2016, and 2016, it was another year that had a very predominantly white nominee list within the leading acting categories once again, and in that the movement was reignited, echoed again through the online community, and again, ignoring a lot of these winners and nominees, literally the host himself, Chris Rock, that would be considered within minority groups. Like let's through this list, let's go through it again. So this is the 2016 Academy Awards, and these are all the winners and part nominees that are part of minority groups. So once again, Alejandro Gianartu won for Best Director and was nominated for Best Picture. Mexican, he's a Mexican. Then we have Charmin uh, Obad Chinoy. I probably butchered the hell out of the name. Sorry. She is a Pakistani. She is from Pakistan. She won Best Documentary Short, and she is also currently going to be directing the Rey film in Star Wars. So we have Gabriel Osorio Vargas, who is a Chilean, who won Best Animated Short with his other partner in Pato Escala Pierta. Sorry, again, butchering the hell out of this name. Also Chilean. Both won for Best Animated Short. Then you have, of course, very well-known composer Ennio Morricone, who is an Italian. He won Best Original Score. And then you have Margaret Sixel, who's from South Africa, who won for Best Film Editing. And then you have Emmanuel Lubezki, who is a Mexican, who won for Best Cinematography. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 winners from the 2016 Academy Awards that would be included within minority groups or from foreign nations. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 winners from the 2015 Academy Awards, one of which would take home 2 of the biggest prizes from the ceremony. So it's this misconception, and then what happens obviously from that is that the Academy begins to implement and incorporate other voices to help diversify their community of voters. They start accepting a larger amount of members than previously, and you start seeing percentages go up in terms of the diversity within the nominations and also within the committee itself, which isn't the issue. I mean, it wasn't an issue even back in 2015 to 2016, as I have illustrated, because even if it was a predominantly white committee of voters, then why, if there's this if it was legit that this corporation was somehow corrupt or racist or whatever like that, then why would they let a Mexican win Best Picture or Best Director? Because he probably made, in their eyes, the best film of that year. So, which is what the Academy Awards or any award ceremony should be about, is recognizing, in their view, the best of the best from that year. But as time goes on, right, with the Academy, and just, generally because obviously we're getting into a political discussion, and generally there is a political discussion to it, but it's just something that has been quietly building up for years and years and years. And I feel that something like Emilia Perez, again, butchering the hell out of that name, I think is a real shining example of forcing down this sort of diversity and inclusive type behavior, especially when you don't even have a producers or any credited nominees to supply said nomination in the Best Picture category. Okay, so I was just looking at this just because I'm just getting ready to edit this video, and check this out. So this is from the Academy's website, and as you can see, so they were apparently seeking to establish some representation and inclusion standards for Oscar eligibility. Now, this was announced back in 2020, and this is a part of the 2025 initiative. So this Oscar season, the one that we're talking about in this video. So if you read here, for the 96 Oscars, so the 2024 Oscars, this was initiated, I guess, last year, and now it's continuing forward now. A film must meet of 2 out of 4
of the following standards to be deemed eligible. Standard A, on-screen representation, themes, and narratives. So basically, a black person, an Asian person, you gotta have one of these people in there. At least 30% of all actors in secondary and more minor roles have to be at least women, ethnic groups, LGBTQ, people with cognitive or physical disabilities. Okay, main storyline subject matter, so it has to be a main storyline that revolves around a underrepresented group, women, racial or ethnic groups, LGBTQ, and all that stuff. That's just category number one. Okay, you have to meet one of these categories. So let's continue. So then there is the creative leadership and project team. So that means, like, we're talking about like editors, all the people behind the scenes, those people. At least two of the following creative leadership positions have to be a woman. It has to be from the ethnic group LGBTQ. At least one of those positions must belong to the following racial or ethnic groups: Asian, Black, whatever. Other key roles. Oh God, sorry. Other key roles. At least six other crew members are from underrepresentation racial or ethnic groups. Okay. Overall crew compensation. At least 30% of the film crew should be geared towards women, racial, LGBTQ. Okay. And then the last category, right? Last category? Oh no, we got two more, right? Yeah, we got two more. So then we got standard C, which is a film must have paid apprenticeship and internship opportunities. The film's distribution or financing company has paid apprenticeship or internships that are from the following represented groups: women, all that stuff. The major studios distributors are required to have substantive, ongoing paid apprenticeships, internships, inclusive of underrepresented groups. Okay. And then training opportunities and skills development. The film production, distribution company offers training and work opportunities for below the line skill development to people from the following groups. Well, again, audience development. So this is the last category, is audience development. So the studio and slash film company has multiple in-house senior executives from among the following representative groups. So as okay, and then all categories other than Best Picture will be held to their current eligibility requirements. Films in the specialty feature. Oh shit, sorry. Films in the specialty feature categories: animated feature film, documentary, international, submitted for Best Picture will be addressed separately. Academy Aperture 2025 is the next phase of the Academy's equity and inclusion initiative, basically just catering to all these people here. Furthering the organization's ongoing efforts to advance inclusion in the entertainment industry and increase representation within its membership and the greater film community. So, yeah, so here is your reason why Emilia Perez was nominated for Best Picture, because it's being held to a different standard than all these other categories are. So, I don't know why Best Picture specifically is getting that kind of treatment, because these are all rules, all the rules that I just listed to you. All these rules are basically being applied towards Best Picture, just towards the big prize. But everything else, um, as I say, all categories other than Best Picture will be held to their current eligibility requirements, which even then, I don't even know what those eligibility requirements entail. That could be, um, that could still be embedded within, diversity requirements and other stuff like that. But yeah, that's your reason. That's your reason for why Emilia Perez is why it's why it's been shared, why it's been collecting all those nominations. So just wanted to include this in here somewhere, just because I just saw that. So yeah, very very interesting.
Like, I think that's just very blatant. And especially when there isn't that strong of reception to it anyway. To just hand out. I'm pretty sure it's not going to win a ton of stuff, but just to give it the lion's share of nominations, I think that to say that, oh well, clearly it's the best film of the year. Obviously, that's not true because you saw the reception as I've illustrated. A lot of people are just not crazy about it. So why? So who? And you know who is crazy about it though? Hollywood is, because if you guys don't know, for anyone who doesn't understand the rules or the voting committee at the Academy is made up of Hollywood elites, celebrities, anyone who works in Hollywood, a notable face. At some point, they are going to get invited into the Academy and they become a voter, and they are the people who vote on this stuff. They're the people who nominate the stuff. That's them. That's not us. That's not journalists. The journalists, they got the Golden Globes, which already is a shady award ceremony in and of itself. And I'll link a video here talking about it because, yeah, they've done some shady stuff in the past, and similar issues there too with diversity and stuff like that. Which that was not the issue when it came to the Golden Globes, um, but um, but but yeah, and with all these with these Hollywood celebrities and elites, considering also how Hollywood is politically speaking, just where they are right now, predominantly a liberal environment, um, and by their how they measure film, generally speaking, because let's be real, a lot of these people don't like they operate in film, but they're not like Ubers. Like they're not digesting film every single day. They're not sitting down and going to the theater or doing this and that. That they're not doing that stuff because they're working. They have jobs. They have other things that they're taking up their time. But to be relevant, because that's the whole gimmick of being in Hollywood is being relevant and keeping up with trends and stuff like that. They're gonna watch whatever it is that journalists are talking about or whatever is being supplied to them through the academy, through the campaigns, through those for your consideration campaigns, which I just read somewhere on like Screen Rant or something that, studios, I don't know if it's true or not because I only got it off from one source, but studios put up a lot of money for those for your consideration campaigns. And that may partially be the reason why Emilia Perez was perhaps given more attention than other films because Netflix maybe put in more money for a 40 consideration campaign, which that might be true, but I'm leaning more towards the politics of it. I'm leaning more towards that because I just think that what the Academy and the people in the Academy are more concerned with, as is illustrated by the Oscar So White movement that happened back then, is that they're more concerned of diversifying things, getting first, right? Because that happens every freaking Oscar season. How many times do you go online and you see a winner, right? And they have a first attached to them. First black, first whatever, first of this family, first of that, first of this and that. It's like they want headlines. They want relevancy, as is the thing of anybody who's in Hollywood. They want the attention, right? So the only way to have attention in some respects, which isn't through, doing genuine work, apparently, it's not just doing good work. It's we need a juicy headline. We need the first of something, right? So in the case of Emilia Perez, let's nominate the film because it's a part of the transgender community and it's heavily, emphasizing on that. And we can make a point about that in our show. And we can, continue to stretch our, our goal in diversifying our audience and diversifying our voters. That does not speak to me as genuine voting. That doesn't sound to me genuine voting as much as it is just virtue signal. I don't know if it's virtue signaling or whatever, but like it just calls. It's just more about political interest than film interest. What is a good film? What makes a good film? I don't think that they're really interested in that stuff. And the celebrities are just not really going to care about it because they only are given what Hollywood will give them. In the case of the Academy, it's just going to be what's being campaigned, and it's just going to be more about the pop. Like I guess to some extent, maybe what Screen Rant is saying, like what's being marketed the most in that respect. So maybe Emilia Perez was given the big push by Netflix. Who knows? Maybe they were. Because it's typical every single year. What does get nominated. There's rarely like there's some surprises here and there, but it's like you always can tell what's going to get nominated because it's just the ones that are talked ad nauseum. It's the ones that, are always being pushed, whether that being through marketing, through interviews, through social media, like that stuff, that's typically the stuff that will get recognized at the Oscars because they they care more about a overview of what either made them money or what is a good discussion to be made with these nominees or with these winners. It's not just who did the good work, and who cares if it's a bunch of white dudes? Who cares if it's a bunch of black people, whatever like that? Who cares? Did they put in the best work? That's what we all care about at the end of the day when it comes to an award ceremony. I don't personally care for award stuff. I just don't care because it's meaningless crap. But if you are to create meaning out of it, do it because uh, of a genuine interest of the craft there, and not for just some political discussion or whatever. Because it just smells of that when it comes to this specific film and why it has been given the large nominations in contrast to the critical reception that is out there. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't, and it's some people will mystify it. They'll be like, oh well, this is weird. Why is it getting all these nominations? It's like it doesn't take too much of a take much of a genius to know what's happening. So, especially when you know the history behind the Oscars. So, and not to mention all the other crap with the Oscars, like with their treatments of nominees, their treatments of hosts. With the whole Kevin Hart situation, like. Like the Oscars has had plenty of issues, and the diversity thing is just an aspect of it. There's a ton of things that the Oscars has gotten wrong over the years. They've tried to remove categories. Remember that one year where they tried to remove categories like the best cinematography and the film editing stuff? They were like, nah, that stuff's not important. That's not important to film. It's like, what? Film editing, cinematography, like you literally would not have a film to literally look at or a film that is structured without those things. It's like, how could you just remove those things, and then pushing awards off the live television, cast just because they want to crunch time because people were always complaining about how long the Oscars play. Like, they've had their issues, and they're just at this point, like the only thing that they have to grasp is just the diversity thing, and that's just all they can hold on to right now. And like, it's not enough. It really isn't. It's the diversity thing and the relevancy. Nominating stuff because people, like, I'm surprised that Deadpool Wolverine wasn't nominated for this Oscars. I genuinely am surprised it wasn't just thrown in the VFX area, because that's really what they will do with these like big mainstream things, because people don't view that as caliber. They're going to be like, well, we want to recognize it somehow. Just throw it in the VFX category. I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised that, but it's just typical, and it's par for the course, by how Hollywood is as a political landscape. They are a very, very liberal environment. So for doing this. And look, there are people probably who have seen this movie and they think that it's probably great. I have not personally seen this film. I don't have much interest to see it, not because of the transgender thing, okay? Like, no, that's not it. It's mainly to do with just general interest. I just don't really care, you know. And before I get the misconception that, oh, well, you're just against the transgender community. My favorite performance from, what was it, 2022? I want to say 2022, or was it yeah, it was 2022. It was from this person, from a film called Mutt. This person right here, I gotta get the person's name. Um, Let me get their name. Leo Mihel. Uh, they play a trans man, or they are a trans man in real life. Best performance I saw from that year, bar none. The best performance that I saw from that year was from this person, and I think that they were also really really good in the film In the Summers, which I also discussed. I think that they are really really interesting, and I would love to see more of them in future films because I think that they are very very talented. So Jesus. So, so just to, dispute that, it's not because of that. It's purely to just recognize the agendas that are at play, the blatant agendas that are at play, and the clear momentum because of movements that have been there for years and where it's all leading to. And I think that something like this is very blatant. Before it might have been more subtle, but in this case, it's a lot more telling and it's a lot more upfront, this time around. Because I really doubt that majority of the Academy is voting based on genuine love for the film as much as they're looking for a headline or looking for an inclusive ceremony, looking to just do it because we can be the show that nominates the first transgender this and that. I'm pretty sure that is a part of the process of looking into this film. And I'm pretty sure a process of how they're even campaigning the film. So, but yeah. I mean, it's been a movement for a while, and it's largely also just in the shaping of Hollywood as of the past few years, politically speaking. It's just been a thing that's been building up for a while, and it's been very very evident for the past 2 years, in my opinion, when it comes to Hollywood. But in the case of something like Emilia Perez, it's just a lot more pronounced this time around when it comes to, in terms of recognition. It doesn't feel as genuine this time around. It just doesn't. And a lot of people are saying that. And I think some people will just tiptoe around the issue because they don't want to say that, but we all really do know the reason why. And really where this stuff comes from. And the real hypocrisies within that movement, the Oscars So White movement. If they're so white, why would a Mexican win Best Picture? Why would they win a Best Director? Why? Why would they win the biggest awards of that night? Of the same year of which you're saying the Oscars are so white. No, it's just not true. It just was not true. So the Oscars are more diverse than white nowadays. I think I just saw a statistic or some data, something like that, saying that like 80% of the voting committee is now like women and minority groups. So I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything about the women or nothing like that. I'm just saying that if you want to have any hashtag, it should be Oscars so diverse, not Oscars so white. Probably seems a lot more accurate to me, but anyways, that's just my observation on all of this. I just been noticing that little conversation, and I just wanted to kind of illustrate just the history behind, the Oscars, like, the whole diversity movement and where that comes from, the hypocrisies within that, and why something like Emilia Perez is such a frank example of that. But you guys let me know your thoughts. If you guys have seen the film, let me know your thoughts. Do you guys think it's a good film? Do you guys think it's not that great? Do you guys believe it should have been nominated? Let me know. And your thoughts as well on just this whole Oscar thing, or the Oscars in general, just as a show. And specifically with this whole, so Oscar so why political movement, all that stuff. Let me know. Does it feed into something like Emilia Perez, or am I just looking too deep into it? Let me know. Let me know all your thoughts. Let's be nice in the comments as well, because I know political discussions can get people heated. Let's just be neutral here. But let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And again, sorry if I've been a little flustered, just having one of those days. I'm just going to go hopefully take a nap and have a better day tomorrow. But let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.